Have you ever looked at a man, maybe a friend, maybe someone in your family, or even in the mirror and thought to yourself, why does he keep ruining everything good in his life? Why does he keep choosing chaos, drama, and weakness when he could have chosen strength, virtue, and discipline? This isn't about intelligence. It's not about how many books a man has read or how much money he makes. This is about wisdom. This is about being foolish in the way that costs a man his peace, his power, and sometimes the love of his life. In this video, we're diving deep into 6 signs of a stupid man, using the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy, especially from one of the greatest minds in history, Marcus Aurelius. Before we go any further, if you care about becoming a better man, or understanding them better, then like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. And most importantly, watch this video till the end, because what we're about to uncover may just shift the way you navigate love, relationships, and your entire emotional life. Now let's build some context before we get into these 6 signs. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just an emperor. He was a warrior philosopher, battling not just enemies on the battlefield but inner demons. Every night he wrote to himself. His words weren't for the world, they were for self-correction. A daily audit of his mind and heart. One of the most striking things Marcus ever wrote was this: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. A stupid man never learns this. He fights the obstacles instead of using them. He resents reality instead of respecting it. He blames the world when it doesn't bow to his ego. And that brings us to the first sign. 1. He blames others for everything. Have you ever been in love with someone so deeply, so completely that when they left, it felt like your whole world collapsed? Now pause. What was the first thing you did when that heartbreak hit? Did you blame them? Their behavior? Their coldness? Did you tell yourself, she changed? She wasn't who I thought she was. If you did, you're not alone. I've been there. Most men have. Let me tell you a short story that might sound a little too familiar. There was a guy named Rayon. He fell head over heels for a girl named Maya. She was warm, supportive, the kind of woman who saw through his rough edges and believed in his dreams. She loved him with a tenderness he never knew he needed. But Rayon, he was emotionally blind. Whenever something went wrong, when Maya cried, when she pulled away, he pointed fingers. You're too sensitive. You never understand me. You're always overreacting. He never once stopped to ask himself, what if I'm the problem? When she finally left, shattered and silent, Rayon called her selfish, cold, disloyal. But here's the truth. She didn't leave because she stopped loving him. She left because she was tired of being blamed for his inability to take responsibility for his own emotions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You see, a foolish man blames his girlfriend for not texting back fast enough, blames his job for his misery, blames his parents for his emotional damage. But all that blame, it's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. So I want to ask you personally, something deeper. Think back to the person you loved the most. The one who got away. The one you still think about when it's 2 a.m. and everything's quiet. Was there a moment where you pushed them away and then blamed them for leaving? Be honest. Because that's where growth begins. This video isn't about pointing fingers at men and calling them stupid. This is about awakening the part of you that still wants to love better, to live stronger, to be wiser. The Stoic man, the strong man, doesn't play the blame game. He owns his choices. He reflects even when it hurts. He looks at pain and says, what can I learn from this? If you're watching this and you're still here, it means something inside you is stirring, that you're not content with living on autopilot, that you want to be the kind of man who doesn't just love deeply, but loves responsibly. So don't go anywhere, because we're just getting started. 2. He reacts, not reflects. Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment that shattered the person you loved? That one word, that one outburst, and the moment it left your mouth, you knew you couldn't take it back. Now think about the look on their face. Not anger, not rage, just hurt. I want you to remember that face, because that's where this story begins. There was a man I once knew. His name was Zane. Zane loved a woman named Aaliyah. She was calm, gentle, the kind of woman who didn't raise her voice when she was upset. Instead, she became quiet, thoughtful. She processed pain by retreating inward. But Zane, he processed everything outward. He didn't think, he reacted. A late reply from Aaliyah, He accused her of cheating. A disagreement about dinner? He turned it into a war about respect. The moment he felt disrespected, unheard, or unseen, his emotions took the wheel. His mouth moved faster than his brain. And his heart? It got lost in the fire. He'd scream things like, "You don't care about me," or "Why do you always make me feel like I'm not enough?" But the truth? She never made him feel that way. He did. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Zane never realized that. Every time Aaliyah tried to love him patiently, he saw it as weakness. He thought she was trying to control him when really, she was trying to save him from himself. And the saddest part? She loved him, she really did. But love can only hold on for so long when it's being yelled at, when it's walking on eggshells, when it's afraid of being misunderstood again. Eventually, Aaliyah walked away, not because she stopped loving him, but because she couldn't keep healing from wounds. He never paused long enough to stop creating. Let me ask you, have you ever pushed someone away just because you didn't pause before reacting? That girl who loved you deeply, did you ever explode on her over something so small that later felt like nothing? But by then, it was already too late. Stoicism isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about understanding them before they own you. A foolish man is a slave to his emotions. But a wise man, he breathes. He reflects. He asks, what's really going on inside me? Before speaking. If you've ever hurt someone you loved because you didn't take a moment to reflect, this is your wake-up call. You can still change. You can still become the man who speaks with purpose instead of pain. The man who responds with wisdom, not wounds. So don't leave yet, because this journey, this healing, this transformation, it's just beginning. And in the next part, we'll dive even deeper. 3. He seeks validation, not self-respect. Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you love and realized you were more in love with how they made you feel about yourself than you were with them? Sit with that for a second. Did you love her? Or did you love the way she made you feel wanted, admired? Enough? This is the part of the story where it gets uncomfortable. But it's also where everything starts to make sense. There was this guy, his name was Armin. Now Armin wasn't a bad guy. In fact, he was a kind soul. Sensitive, affectionate, the kind of man who'd do anything to be loved. But that was the problem. He needed to be loved constantly, desperately. He dated a woman named Zoya. She was intelligent, graceful, and had a life of her own. She didn't always have time to shower him with attention or compliments. Not because she didn't love him, but because she trusted him. But Armin, he craved constant reassurance. Do you still love me? Why didn't you reply fast? You're not acting the same. Did I do something? Every text she didn't send on time felt like a personal attack. Every day she didn't praise him felt like rejection. And slowly Zoya began to feel like she wasn't his partner. She was his mirror. Armin was so empty inside, he used her love to fill the cracks he refused to face. He mistook her presence for his worth. And when she finally left, broken and exhausted, he didn't understand. He thought love meant constant validation. But real love? It's not built on desperation. It's built on self-respect. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." Armin was poor in self-respect, because he never gave himself the approval he kept begging from her. Now let me ask you, have you ever looked back on someone you lost and realized you clung too tightly, that you didn't really want them? You just couldn't bear being alone with yourself, that you weren't in love. You were in need? If that hits hard, it's because it's your story too. But here's the beautiful part. You don't have to be that man anymore. You can be the man who walks into a room and doesn't need anyone to clap. The man who looks in the mirror and says, "You are enough," even if no one else says it. You can love from fullness, not emptiness. And when you do, you'll attract a woman who doesn't need to carry the weight of your worth. She'll just love you because you finally started loving yourself. So stay with me, because this next part, it might just be the most honest conversation you've ever had with yourself. 4. He escapes reality instead of facing it. When your heart broke when she left, what did you run to? Your phone? Other women? Endless scrolling on social media? Video games? Late nights? Parties? Not to feel joy, but to not feel pain. Yeah, I get it. There was a guy I knew, Dev. Dev had the kind of heart that felt everything. He loved hard, and when he lost, it shattered him. He was in love with a woman named Meher. She was his world, his escape, his peace. But when she left, it was like watching the sun disappear forever. And instead of sitting with the darkness, Dev ran, not physically but emotionally. He ran into distractions, into apps and random conversations, into pretending, smiling, drinking, ghosting the truth. He posted photos pretending to be unbothered. He flirted to feel seen. He laughed loudly around friends while crying alone on his pillow. But what he never did was feel. He never sat with the silence. He never looked into the mirror and asked, "What am I avoiding?" Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But Dev believed the opposite. What stood in his way, he turned his back on. You see, a foolish man escapes reality. He builds castles out of denial and parties inside them like the pain isn't knocking on the door. But the wise man, the Stoic, he opens the door. He says, "Come in, pain, teach me something." Now let me ask you something honest. When she broke your heart, when life didn't go your way, did you run? And are you still running? Because if you are, I want you to know this. You're not weak for feeling hurt. You're not broken because you cry, but you are delaying your healing every time. You avoid what you know deep down. You need to face. You need to sit in your silence. You need to walk through your grief, not around it. You need to look at your pain and stop saying, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" The truth is, every great love that breaks you is also a mirror. It shows you the parts of yourself you've ignored. The boy in you who never learned how to face storms without an umbrella of distraction. But here's your turning point. Right here, right now. Don't click away. Don't scroll. Don't distract. Because this next part, this is where boys stop running and men start rising. You've run long enough. It's time to feel, to face, to heal. And when you do, you won't just win back your power. You'll become the kind of man that pain can't break anymore. 5. He blames others for his pain. Have you ever whispered in your heart, "If she didn't do that, I wouldn't be like this"? If she hadn't left, if she had just loved you right, if she had chosen you instead of him, would you still be angry? Still hurt? Still empty? I want you to sit with that for a moment. There was a man named Rayan. He had a love that most men dream of, a woman named Naira. She wasn't perfect, but she was present. She gave her heart, her time, her patience. But you know what Rayan gave back? Excuses. Every time something went wrong, he blamed her. She questioned him once about his drinking, and he shouted, "You stress me out. That's why I drink." She told him she felt alone in the relationship, and he replied, "Well, maybe if you were more supportive, I'd open up." See the pattern? It was always her fault. He never asked himself, what if the pain I feel is the pain I refuse to take responsibility for? And slowly, Naira began to disappear. Not physically, but emotionally. Because nothing kills love faster than being blamed for someone else's wounds. Eventually, she left. And Rayan? He told everyone she was cold, that she gave up, that she was ungrateful. But late at night, when the lies were gone and only silence remained, he knew the truth. She wasn't the reason for his pain. He was. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You must not blame the gods nor accuse men. Your life is what your thoughts make it." But men like Rayan don't read words like that. They read betrayal into everything. They make villains out of people who once held them gently. Because blaming others feels safer than looking into the mirror. Now let me ask you, brother.
Have you ever done that?
Blamed her for the mess inside you? Convinced yourself that if she had just done this or that, you wouldn't be so broken now? Because if you have, I need you to hear this clearly. It's not her job to fix what happened to you before she met you. It's not her fault you never learned how to self-soothe. It's not her duty to walk on glass because you never healed. Love isn't a therapist, it's a mirror, and sometimes that mirror breaks not because it's faulty, but because the person looking into it refuses to face the reflection. But there's beauty in that pain, if you're brave enough to sit with it. Because once you stop blaming, you start becoming. You start rising. You take your power back, not because she came back, but because you came back to yourself. So don't go anywhere yet, because this next part, it's the one that turns all this pain into peace. And it just might be the most important truth you'll ever hear. 6. He never learns from his mistakes. How many times have you repeated the same heartbreak with different faces, but the same ending? How many times did you say, "This time I'll be better," only to find yourself standing in the ruins of another love, holding the same blame, the same pain, the same regrets. There was a man named Ishan. Now Ishan was charming. He always knew the right words, the right gifts, the right timing. But what he didn't know was how to grow. Every woman he loved, he lost. Not because he was unlucky, but because he never looked inward. He only pointed outward. When Ria left, he said, she was too sensitive. When Sana walked away, she was too cold. When Mira cried and begged for connection, she was too needy. Do you see it? Different names. Same story, same man. Ishan didn't lose love because of bad luck. He lost it because he refused to ask himself, what am I doing wrong? Why do I keep hurting the people I love? Why do I never change? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. But to a man like Ishan, mistakes weren't lessons. They were annoyances. He didn't evolve. He recycled. He didn't reflect. He repeated. And that's what separates a foolish man from a wise one. The foolish man stumbles into the same darkness again and again, and calls it fate. But the Stoic man? He stumbles once and learns. He bleeds once and heals. He loves once and evolves. Now let me bring this back to you. How many times have you found yourself in the same argument? The same heartbreak? The same apology? Be honest, no one's judging you here. This is your safe space. Have you ever promised to do better, then did the same thing when your emotions got loud? Have you ever lost someone, then blamed the timing, the stress, the world, anything but yourself? Because if you have, you're not broken, you're just unawakened. But you're here now, and that means something inside you wants to rise. So here's what you must understand. Mistakes are not your enemy. Repeating them without reflection is. Love doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for progress. So if she walked away because you kept making the same mistakes, don't curse her name. Thank her. Because she didn't break you, she showed you. And now it's up to you to become the man who doesn't keep hurting what he loves. The man who listens, learns, and leads with wisdom, not wounds. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of who you were always meant to be. So stay with me, because the man you're about to become, he's waiting on the other side of your next decision. So what now? If you saw any of these signs in someone else, or worse, in yourself, don't despair. This video isn't to shame you. It's to awaken you. Because stupidity in Stoic terms is not a permanent state. It's a failure to use reason, to cultivate virtue, to pursue wisdom. Marcus Aurelius fell short too. He doubted. He feared. He failed. But what made him great was that he kept coming back to his principles. So what can you do? Own your life. Pause before you react. Build purpose before pleasure. Listen more. Detach from validation and learn to love solitude. These 6 shifts can elevate your relationships, your love life, your masculinity, your entire existence. Because in the end, the difference between a foolish man and a wise one is that the wise man knows when he's being foolish. He corrects it daily, silently, steadily. That's what Stoicism is all about. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.